New horror Double Blind just hit VOD services, but is it worth the rental price and, more importantly, your time? The movie is described as a horror suspense film and has a unique blend of literal clinical atmosphere, although it tugs on deep emotional turmoil and trauma for the true horror. The movie gets its name from a double-blind study, which is a clinical trial design wherein both participants and on-site researchers remain unaware of the treatment or intervention assignments until the trial concludes. This approach is used to minimize the likelihood of bias in the results, ensuring that external factors unrelated to the tested treatment or intervention are less likely to influence the outcomes. But of course, if you know anything about horror, this is prime bait. Not only do the participants not know what they're taking, but the people who are on site looking after them, who are liable for them, have no idea of what they're about to experience. The film follows a group of strangers who participate in a drug trial. Stuck in a facility for 5 days, they are ready to get on with the experiment, hoping to leave with the money promised. But, of course, not everything goes to plan when the drug they are testing has unexpected side effects, preventing the volunteers from sleeping. Now, as the goalposts for the trial are shifted, they begin to wonder, are they still safe inside? The movie is primarily told through the perspective of Claire, who is an antisocial participant that we realize quite quickly is dealing with her own personal demons. But every participant in this study has their own backstory, and these cracks begin to show as they slowly break down due to a lack of rest. The film merges the idea of science and imagination because we delve into different psychological states that present themselves to the participants in surrealist dreamlike manners. Although, of course, the brain and science links this together. I mean, psychology is a science. It's a type of scientific study. But in horror, we rarely see a clinical nightmare, or we rarely have this type of experiment explained to us in real time. So instead of a character going into a haunted house and being spooked by a ghost inside, we're learning about why they are feeling the way they are before we see any terror kick in. We are well aware of why each character is acting the way they are, but they are indeed out of control of their own minds, and that is horrifying in itself. It makes for a very realistic type of horror. These moments are truly terrifying, and what surprised me was the use of gore. I was honestly not expecting that at all. I liked that element, although some of the dream kind of losing your mind sequences, they do stand on shaky ground, and sometimes with this, less is more, and I did feel like they bordered on revealing too much. I liked when they kept it within realism and didn't go too far into the mind in a way that we knew whatever was happening to them wasn't actually a danger. Although, either way, the desired outcome was achieved. Speaking of visuals, the film's setting and location is beyond eerie, as we're confined within a clinical and claustrophobic space. And the lack of furniture, or really the excess of negative space in each frame, is perhaps the best metaphor for what they must be feeling like being paranoid in a place with no answers. It's like their brain was so empty it was willing to absorb anything, and seeing this negative space around them, or just them in a frame alone, and knowing that their brain is going completely crazy as they break down, and knowing that they don't have anything to fill it with except for their own past traumas. It's like a bad trip, but in a padded cell. Your brain can't go crazy with anything in the environment because it's so blank. So they have to take things from within. It's pretty clever. And I felt like the set dressing really emphasized this. The film also does have a warning for flashing lights as it plays with lighting cues for danger and terror. But perhaps the best part of the film is its pace, because it accelerates through the storyline, and only 30 minutes in, I thought we had already reached our peak. But it was just the start of the story, because this film is not solely about the side effects of the drug. There's a lot more going on and a lot to discover about each character along the way. And although all of this creates a very solid picture for the film, it's not entirely all good, because this is where I found my issues with the film. the characters. It's a captivating story that has some extremely clever moments, especially in how it injects fear into the story, but I found myself just feeling satisfied at the end, not completely connected to any of these characters, including our protagonist, Claire. From my perspective, it seemed like a true clinical trial, which is kind of smart, but I felt very disconnected to the characters, because although we're seeing these awful things happen to them and the unraveling, there was a strange disconnect from the characters' story arc. Even if people won you over or you necessarily liked a character, you weren't really taken on a full journey with them. The way that Double Blind played on the idea of losing oneself with no way out is a relatable anxiety a lot of people have, especially those battling with their own inner turmoil. It's also something that unites us as humans, knowing our mind is basically who we are. The film took a high focus on this and skipped any bonding with the lead character. Instead, it became a clinical trial that perhaps is a conversation starter and has the bonus of having some great gore. This is a fun watch, but it's just that for me, although I really did enjoy what they did with the clinical atmosphere. I'm gonna give this one a personal score of 6 out of 10. Scare score is also 6, because I do think I think that they were really effective with what they did with the fear. But for originality, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10 because there wasn't much else to it. It was good for what it was, and it's a solid time. Let me know if you've seen Double Blind down below. I would love to hear your feedback on this film. And I also went and saw a really unique vampire film that's coming out in cinemas. If you haven't heard of it, you should check it out here, totally spoiler free. Have a great day, stay spooky. Bye friends.